He sprinted across town. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. Kent Sterling from Colts Camp. What'd you see?
People chanting in the bleachers, "Two big brains, two big brains." This is what was going on.
Oh, I knew it.
As always, you sit with Rick Venturi because you got to sit with the smart guy who knows what the hell he's looking at. And there's some kind of, I'd like to see what Juju Brents looks like. He tweaked a hamstring. Julian Blackmon tweaked a hamstring. Jonathan Taylor not there. Anthony Richardson looked okay, but who doesn't against air? Like, you can't tell stuff. One thing that Rick said that I totally agree with is this is such a much better organized effort. Like, this is way better organized. Shane Steichen there's no standing around, no farting and like laughing. It's boom, 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 station to station. It's awesome. It's like you used to run your basketball camp. Let's go.
Yeah,
we're popping.
Yeah, that I can get down with.
So,
yeah.
Steichen,
Rick
no
says
nonsense.
that, Rick knows what he's seeing.
Yeah. Yep.
So you mentioned Jonathan Taylor. Let me go back to yesterday. Did Ballard bullshit the troops here yesterday?
I don't think so.
Okay, good.
I think because Steichen, when he talked to the media today, said as soon as Jonathan Taylor's 100%, he's going to be out on the field. Like, there was no hemming and hawing, and I think that he wouldn't have said that if this was contractual. I think he would have kind of held his cards closer to his vest. But this was, as soon as he's 100%, he's going to be out there and he's going to be full go. So, okay. I'm more trusting just than you.
Well, everybody's more trusting. I think everybody's out to get me. Anyway.
I don't think, somebody pointed out that Ballard, when he talked to the media yesterday, like his voice went up and it got a little bit shaky when he was talking about Taylor. Okay, I didn't hear that, but today I thought that Steichen kind of settled it to my satisfaction, kind of.
So I didn't even think about the point where this is contractual. I didn't think about that. I thought this was Ballard, for whatever the reason, not wanting to say that the dude was still injured, but that's pointless because he comes out on PUP the next day, so you're going to know anyway.
Right.
How serious, I'm a Colts fan. I have not been there. I have paid attention to you. How serious or nervous should Colts fans be about Taylor and his injury? Because this was a long time ago.
And it was just like a minor thing. It was one of those keyhole deals where you go in and get rid of some of the crap. And, you know, the plan, when we talked to him in minicamp, he said the plan was for him to be available day one of the training camp. So, yeah, I'd be a little bit worried. Although, does it make any difference? Does it matter whether it's Jonathan Taylor or Zach Moss or Evan Hull? I don't care. Look, Miles Sanders is no longer an Eagle. The Chiefs won a Super Bowl with Pacheco, a seventh rounder, as a running back. I like Jonathan Taylor. I'd rather have him back there. I'd rather have his 1,500 yards than not. But are they going to win a Super Bowl because they got him back there? No.
I got to argue with you a little bit. Wait a second here. There's different levels to importance of players. You have Patrick Mahomes, the running back, right? You can go with Pacheco. You know, you have Jalen Hurts and all those wideouts, Devontae Smith and all those guys. You can go on Miles Sanders. You got the Colts. I mean, you got very limited. You and I have documented this during our happy summer where everybody's optimistic according to you. But during happy summer, it was, hey, look.
Yeah.
There's not that many weapons. And Taylor, it has a different level of importance than maybe Pacheco does because who the quarterback is. And you see my point?
He played 11 games last year, and the Colts went 4-12-1.
Yeah.
He missed 6.
Yeah.
So even best case
Let's
scenario.
say he went 4-6 with him.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it really matters.
And what?
I know that that's like heresy. I always loved watching Walter Payton, but Walter Payton, his best years, like what the Bears do. They made the playoffs in '77 and they crapped the bed and they were done.
You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
Walter Payton didn't win shit until he got defense.
Yeah,
Walter Payton didn't win shit until he got an organized coaching staff. I mean, he went through, I don't think Abe Gibran was there, but they had Neil Armstrong. They had all these clowns in there, Jack Pardee, all these guys. And then all of a sudden he gets Ditka and Buddy Ryan, you get some pros. And I think that's what we're hoping here. And I want to say something based on what you said. You always hope that the next guy that coaches exposes the previous guy for the warts when they come into a team that sucked. Like, you can't be like, oh, it's the same kind of atmosphere. The best news I've heard, I don't give a damn about, I do, Richardson, because he's going to be the most interesting guy. But the best news I heard is what you said, Venturi said about boom, 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 boom. Yeah. That's how you win games.
There was no standing around.
Oh, that's how you win.
They had, and it was, you could see the clock, and when the horn blew, boop, 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 everybody went someplace else, and they got to work right away. Yeah. And it wasn't like, you've seen college practices, bad ones, and I've seen college practices, bad ones. And between like segments of the practice, that you got 80 guys or 90 guys, and they're all looking at each other and talking and having a good time. And then even during the drills, maybe you've got 20 guys working and 60 standing around with their thumbs up their ass. That doesn't work for me. And there was none of that today. Maybe that's part of the, like, oh, we got a new coach. We got to be on point. Let's go.
Well, let's talk a week from now.
Yeah.
And see. Right? Because first day, everybody's jacked, right? Everybody's going a million miles an hour. Now, tomorrow, you're tired, and that first day has wore off. I mean, I can tell you to this day, and you probably can too, October 15th was the first day of basketball in the state of Indiana. I can tell you that like it was my job.
Yeah.
And nobody could wait till October 15th. So now, but I do like that that's the precedent that's being set. You and I have talked about this. You can't lighten up. You can't toughen up. You can always lighten up.
Right.
And I like that. I like that a lot.
And I think that that's what you get when you get to a fifth-year guy like Reich, who at his core is a nice man.
Yeah. Well,
you know, you're going to become nicer and nicer. You might come in a hard ass, but if that's not the way you're wired, you're going to like loosen the reins bit by bit until you got a shit show like they had last year.
Yeah, it's interesting. All right, Darius Leonard did what Darius Leonard does, which is talk. You have said that Darius Leonard, you don't expect him to play. Do you now?
I do now.
Do good.
Yeah, he talked to the media, and it's real easy to be cynical about Shaquille Leonard. Really easy. But he is a really good dude, and if he said he didn't sleep last night, that somebody asked him about the crowd, he said, you asking me the questions, I got goosebumps. Being out there with my guys, that means everything. Being away from my happy place is awful for me, and my happy place is between the lines. That's when my life quiets down. All my troubles go away. I love being on the field. I've worked really, really hard to get back there, and being there today, it felt right. He doesn't know what it's going to be like when he gets hit or when he hits.
So when is he?
We don't know when he's going to be full contact. But he was full go today, and that was a surprise.
But there was no contact. I'm sorry.
There was no contact, no pads.
Nothing.
No, and maybe that won't happen for him for a while, and I don't think it needs to. But he said he felt really good. And he didn't look like he looked when he played last year. When he played last year, he didn't look fluid. Right. He didn't look fast. He looked like a guy who won a contest and was pulled out of the stands to go play linebacker.
But then he comes in the first game and gets an interception. Like, what the hell? The ball finds the man.
It is odd, isn't it?
Why am I still cynical? Why? Why am I still cynical?
Well, sometimes it's just good practice.
Most times it is.
Yeah.
Like, all right, so we start camp, and you don't know anything, but at least you're in football mode now, right? And the crowd had to be good. It's amazing. People are still enthused about the Colts, aren't they? Even with that shit show.
And they were loud. Anytime Richardson completed a pass, they were loud. And Richardson did like Richardson things when there's no pressure. Like he goes back, he evaluates here, he evaluates there. He's looking around here, he moves over here. I mean, I don't know how long he was back there. And then he throws a pass to the back of the end zone, which is caught, and the crowd all went nuts.
Yeah. Oh, he
ain't gonna have 13 seconds to throw the damn ball when they're hitting him. So
how about Minshew? Did they split the reps? I read that they're splitting the reps.
They did 5-3-2. Okay. So it was 5 for Minshew, 3 for Richardson, 2 for
Minshew
Elliott.
got the most.
Yes.
That's odd. Urban Meyer got crushed for that a few years ago with Trevor Lawrence and Minshew. Minshew must do something in the offseason that gets everybody to love him.
Yeah, right? Well, he's a lovable guy.
Is he?
He's got great teeth.
Really?
Oh, like Hollywood teeth.
What does that mean?
Straight as arrows, white, gleaming, Like they're perfect teeth.
Like
if
Ross
you graded,
Geller when he left the detergent on too much and they were fluorescent. I mean,
That's pretty close.
These are all fake. These aren't great. They're all
and his
fake.
might be fake.
Yeah.
I don't know, but man, they are aligned like they're soldiers.
Really?
At West Point. That's the way they look. I don't know how many years the braces were on there, but he's from Mississippi, and Mississippians not known for great teeth. He's got them. He's got them all.
Wow. Man, it's funny. I was talking about teeth this morning on my morning show because I was watching Ted Lasso. I did a video yesterday where I crushed Harbaugh, and some guy goes, "Hey, Dan's got new teeth." I don't know. I didn't, but yeah. And then when you watch like Ted Lasso, all the English folk got bad teeth. I didn't know Mississippi was teeth deprived. Oh, good to know.
Well, yeah, they got problems bigger than teeth.
No question about it.
They got to prioritize.
So who's the running back? Zach Moss?
You had Zach Moss. You had Evan Hull get some reps today. I think Evan Hull's going to be really interesting. I know things. But I know, like, when my eyes go to somebody, I feel good about
Josh Downs?
them. Yeah, a little bit. Didn't see much of him. I wasn't really paying. I just had my attention riveted to Richardson.
Right.
And then when I was with Rick talking about the corners and trying to figure out whether they could play.
Did you see what Ballard said? Ballard said that he, in the middle of last year or end of last year, we're going young at corner.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Now that's bullshitting the troops. Come on.
That's
how about we go
utter
good
nonsense.
at corner?
Yeah, that's completely crazy. And he referenced 2018 as a time when they went young at corner and it all worked out. And, we're bringing the O-line back. Feel good about the way they played, the last 5 or 6 games. Look at the offensive statistics the last 5 or 6 games. Terrible. Not good. Maybe they played their ass off and the team was so bad around that line that they couldn't compete. But yeah, I mean, there are times when he's just nonsensical. And nobody, if you were doing it one-on-one, you could have an argument with him and say, now, wait a minute.
Yeah, hold on.
In the middle of everybody, you're not. Wait, that's not a good answer. That seems
crap.
wrong.
Yeah. I feel like you're making this up to me.
Yeah.
So I go back to what the hell was I going to say? I go back to something like when last year happened. A lot of guys. I remember this because I was waiting for it. A lot of guys were asked about Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
From the previous year.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great to not have the cameras here. It's great, but during the time they loved Hard Knocks, they said, and then the next year. I'm curious about this, and I have not heard this even mentioned. I have not heard Jeff Saturday's name come up even a little bit.
No.
I'm curious about what happens when players, when media starts running out of things to ask about. And it goes back to, what's the difference between this year and last year? Do you think some player is going to rip Saturday and what happened? And not intentionally. He's not going to say, well, Jeff Saturday was a boob. He should have never been in here. He's not going to, I don't think they're going to do that, are they?
That'd be beautiful.
I mean, look, I don't know.
That boob's gone. Thank Christ.
I'm sitting one day and I'm watching him on ESPN. He's talking stupid. Next thing you know, he's in front of the team. And he's crying about how much the horseshoe meant to him. Like, what the fuck is going on here? You know what I mean? Like, will somebody
I'd love to hear it. I mean, that'd be a lot of fun. We'd talk about it and write about it for 3 days. But the thing that people keep saying about Steichen comparatively is comparing him to Reich is the way I take it.
Yeah.
And that's that people are being held accountable.
Yeah.
Which also is not hard when there is no personal relationship between the coach and the players.
Yeah.
Steichen only can evaluate the players. He doesn't love these guys yet.
Yeah.
Is he going to fall in love with these guys? Belichick, I don't think has ever loved a single player that ever played for him. I'm not sure he knows their names once they leave. If Tom Brady walked into Foxborough, into Belichick's office, I think Belichick would say, "Hi, I'm Bill Belichick."
No, he wouldn't. Now that went a little too far. I'm not saying Teddy Bruschi or maybe somebody, but I get your point though. Urban Meyer told me this when he went to Ohio State. He goes, look, and I think I've said this to you before. He goes, Dan, remember we were at Bowling Green? You'd have your team over the house. I'd have my team over. We'd have cook guys. He goes, I ain't doing none of that shit. This is a business.
Yeah.
And I'm going to run it like Nick Saban. He mentioned Nick Saban. I'm going to run it like a business. This organization is what Nick Saban calls it. It's an organization. That's what we call NFL teams, for the most part, organizations.
When Saban, and this is true about Urban because you told me a story about it. When he's recruiting, guys have got phones and they got recruits waiting, and they pass it to Saban and they say, "This is so-and-so from this place. He's this guy. Hey, how you doing?" You know, like they're old friends.
Yeah.
He has no idea who the guy on the other end of the phone is. Zero idea who he is. And I think when he gets on campus, he's got very little idea who he is then. He just knows statistics. He knows traits. And they put traits on the field, not necessarily human beings. And that's the way you coach.
I told you a story about the kid Finch from Indianapolis. He was like the number one rated something. He was going to Indiana. He decided not to go. Urban got him. I'm sitting with Urban and Charlie Strong. I'm like, man, everybody around Indiana says this is the most talented dude ever. He goes, really? What's he do good? I don't know, but I heard he's fast as hell, big as hell. So he gets there. Long story. He starts on the first game. He started on the kickoff team, and he got hurt and left school, and I don't know where he is. But you're exactly right. That story told me exactly, like Lee. Lee would recruit softball players and not know their high school.
Yeah.
Because you just did it based on the summer. You went summer, and she may know where they're from. She would know where they're from, but she may not know their high school.
And I heard yesterday, Chris Ballard, talking to the media, he said, talking about the O-line, he said, look, I love our 4th-round pick. That's Blake Freeland from BYU.
Yeah.
He didn't know who his name
was. No, he didn't know the name,
was.
right?
He said the 4th-round pick. He didn't gloss over it because he didn't want to throw the guy some love or some nonsense. He went up on his name, just forgot it.
I did that at a wedding. My buddy Ballard, I was the best man. I gave a speech, and I looked right at everybody, and I said, here, raise a glass to Brian, and she's sitting right there. And I couldn't come up with a name. I said, Brian and Mrs. Pillar is what I said. I'm looking at her right here, and I couldn't place her.
Today in the Colts media room, I'm done with all the editing stuff I had to do, and my mind's someplace else. And I walked by Brad from Channel 6, and everybody knows Brad. He's a great guy. I walked by, slapped him on the back, and said, "See you tomorrow, Dave."
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What are you going to do? I felt terrible. I turned around and said, "Dave, or Brad, sorry, I'm somewhere else," which I was. But yeah, I'm always doing. Why do I use names?
Don't.
You don't have to.
Hey, pal. Hey, buddy.
Yeah, how's it going?
One of the things I loved was going to coaches' convention. Hey, coach. How you doing? Hey, Dan, how you doing? Good, coach. How you doing, man? Hey, all right. You know what I mean, coach? It's yeah. I'm telling you, man, that as you get older in particular, but I was young then. It wasn't from alcohol. It was, I can still remember the panic. Shit, I couldn't place her. I did not.
And you. Hey. And the special person you are.
Yes. All right. So we've covered the two. Now, you mentioned that the pick, the kid out of Indy, Brents, he was hurt. Here's the thing that drives me nuts, man. And the Colts have always done this, and I'm sure the Bears do if you're a Chicago fan. I'm sure Jacksonville does. But I say this every year. One of the keys to NFL success is you can't have your good players get hurt. Right. You can have your the Ballard specials, the guys that they signed at the end of the thing, but you cannot have them hurt. To your point, I don't give a rat's ass if Shaq Leonard or Jonathan Taylor play a minute. I don't care if I went back to coaching.
Why?
Because I want them ready for the season.
Oh, I get you.
I'm sorry, in the
preseason. July
preseason.
26th.
Yeah, I don't give a damn.
You don't care.
I don't
right.
care.
No.
That's one thing I've learned. Back in the day, and guys would show up fat, or guys would have to play themselves into shape. The coach would have suicides, up, downs, and we'd all have to get. Right. Now it's like everybody's a machine. The money's so great. I don't want anybody to get hurt that's any good.
I think that's a problem. I think guys working 12 months a year causes injury. I don't think it prevents it. I think you've got to do that to maximize your ability, your athleticism. But I think that it tears you down quicker than it builds you up sometimes. You know what's interesting about that is the building. The building. How does Ballard know the 4th-round pick's any good? You know how he knows? Because that was me. It just fell. Oh, okay. He's seen him in an OTA, and he's seen what his work ethic is in the building. You are expected now, whatever the sport is, to put in enough time
off season that the coaches, particularly if you're a halfway through good player to a marginal end player.
Yeah.
Like I just saw where Nebhart, I think, is in Charleston, South Carolina, and Rick Carlisle went down there and worked him out. You can't skate by now. Or else the team's going to cut you and find somebody that won't. But I agree with you. I think year round, I think all this stuff, I don't think it's the best. I think it makes for injury. I do.
And I go back to my son. Ryan's working, and at the time was a really, really good shooter. And then he kept working with the trade. He was going to school and doing open gyms from like 6 to 7:30. After school, open gyms, then going to a trainer and working again. And I asked the trainer who he paid, I said, hey, can he work too hard? And he said, no.
Oh, God, no.
And I thought, my God, all right, I'm going to trust you. Knee tendonitis, and all of a sudden everything just kind of went away, and basketball became a job for Ryan instead of a joy. And that's because he wasn't multidimensional in his sports and didn't take 2 months and just like chill. So,
yeah, and you know, people like NFL guy, if I were an NFL player, and this is what Tim Belcher, my friend who pitched in the big leagues, did forever. He would pitch 270 innings, 250. And he was a workhorse. I said, what was the key? He goes, I'm telling you, he goes, the season's over. He goes, I do what I want to do. Meaning he liked his farm. So he might farm, you know, maybe you're done in October, November. Or he liked to go on vacation, or he liked to hang out. And he lived in a small town in Ohio. He liked to go hang out with the boys, shoot pool, whatever. He's like, I'm doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
For about 2 months. And then I'm going to get back to what I need to do. And what I need to do is going to be about the next 10 months. But I think it is so important. I do. I think it is so important. Like, I don't understand guys like golf. Like, you think about golf. Golf is one shot costs you thousands, hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
One shot on Thursday or one shot on Friday means you don't get paid if you don't make the cut. So you go through all this, you make the cut. Let's say you're coming down the stretch in a tournament, and then you go play next week. Right. And the next week. And people say, well, people do that at real jobs. I'm not saying you don't, and I'm saying it's great. But when you are a sport and your effort and your performance every day dictates your paycheck, honest to God, at some point you go, screw this. I need a minute. I need a week. I need a month.
And Nicholas would do that. Nicholas would shut it down, and then come like January, he'd go back to his coach at Ohio State, and they would rebuild his swing from scratch every single year. This is the best golfer in the history of the world, who would take the time off, spend it with his family. By all accounts, a great husband, a great dad. He managed to balance those, number one, because he was one of the best athletes ever to play golf.
Yeah, he was.
But he had his shit wired straight to do what he did for a long period of time. So,
but in the Colts deal, so now the other way is this. If you were going to say, okay, and I don't know how you do this at camp. I've been to camp and I've never understood football camp. But if you were going to say, okay, I want to see who's really improved.
Yeah.
Like if there was I want, how can you possibly tell if Nick Cross is really improved?
You can't.
How can you tell if Zach Pierce is really improved? Because last year, Zach Pierce, he beat Stephon Gilmore to the corner. Oh, okay, great. How do you tell in football?
The only way I can tell at any position is the O-line and the defensive line go one-on-one against each other with like a flag on a pylon or something, and the defensive player is trying to get to that pylon. And a couple of years ago, Tyquan Lewis was getting to that pylon, and he was getting to that flag against starting level offensive linemen. I was like, he's better.
Yeah.
He figured some things out. So you can see in that one-on-one matchup, in that limited instance, who's doing well and who's not doing well. Other than that, you can't. Like, how many times did we hear about Deion Kane and Desmond Patman and Michael Strawn?
I can go back to Chris Carter's son. This is like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, he was good. No, you're right. That's why I always say, like, I think football, I give guys credit. If you can go through camp and you can really evaluate, then you know your shit. That's why.
They can't. But nobody knew that the Colts didn't know they were going 4-12 last year with this shit show of a coaching situation. They had no idea in camp. Everybody was really happy in camp.
The only thing I said about last year was I don't know if the Detroit Lions are any good. But I know the Detroit Lions were every bit as good as the Colts, and the Colts were every bit as good as the Detroit Lions. And maybe they were, maybe they weren't. They got a winning record. They went 9-8.
Yeah.
But I remember saying, if the Colts are this good, because I watched. That's the one thing I watched. Like, all right, this DeAndre Swift was really good. Like, whoa. And these tight ends that they had were really good. And Goff looked like he could really throw it to me. But my bias, because Jared Goff was Jared Goff. Right. And he wasn't worth a shit according to what I've been told.
Right.
But I'm like, wait. And so that, I think what I may do is I may go to camp and watch him win. Who's coming in this year?
Bears.
That's right. So I may come in and watch that, and you'll have the two best runners at quarterback in the world. But that to me is the only way that I can tell. Your drill is right. Like, I get that.
Right.
Yeah, I get that.
And you can see whether a guy sets an anchor. Like Blake Freeland is really interesting to me. And he's not big enough, but he's really athletic. Is he going to get pushed around in that drill? Is he going to get driven back into the pylon? Or can he kind of set an anchor, get his hands up, and keep guys off? That's interesting to me. But everything else, like if you're looking at receivers against corners, like what Rick looks at is fundamentals. Where are his hands? How quick does he get his hands on a guy? Can he make a guy adjust because of his hand placement and stuff like that? But you can't tell, like if a corner gets beat by a receiver, did the corner suck or was the receiver really good?
That's the problem. There's your problem right there with coaching. The white team beat the red team. Is the red team suck? They're supposed to be my first team. The white team really good? Shit, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's the thing. In the quarterback deal, like, I don't think, I guess, maybe against the Bears. I assume it'll be against the Bears, whether you see where the passes are. Like, I watched, did you see the commercial that the NFL and Nike and NFL players and Nike did with Kaepernick? It's a propaganda piece. Just came out. It just came out.
No.
So all these NFL players went to the Nike, whatever, Beaverton or wherever the hell it's called, and they had Kaepernick out there throwing. And I'm looking at it, and I had an NFL guy tell me, well, it's really not a great film for Kaepernick. Because if you watch, like, NFL guy got to put the ball here.
Yeah,
If he puts the ball here, it ain't a great throw.
Right.
If a wide receiver's running deep and he's got to stop and not come back for a back shoulder, but he's got to stop and it's clear he's waiting on a ball in the air, it's not a great film.
Right.
So that's what I would be looking for relative to Richardson against the Bears, and maybe only against the Bears. I guess they scrimmage here, don't they? They scrimmage once in a while.
They go 11-on-11, and they did a little bit today, but nobody's getting hit. So, like throwing against guys when you're not going to get pummeled for keeping it too long, I don't know how we can judge who Richardson is based on that.
I always said this, like, I thought it should be illegal to wear, like Barry Bonds wear that body armor.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Like, because there's got to be in the back of your mind a fear of getting hit. That's a pitcher's advantage.
Right.
Quarterback, if you take that out, you've taken the number one thing that a quarterback has to deal with.
Yeah,
Getting the shit knocked out of him. Right? That's
that. And I was watching the College World Series, not to talk more about baseball, but guys are leaning in.
Right.
Oh, I don't like that. You can't lean in. You can't try to get hit. That's not an offensive.
But if you got body armor, then you can.
They do. So get that shit off of there.
Right.
Expose. Nobody wants to get hit. I want to get hit by a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. No. Your
natural instincts define it.
Yeah.
Your natural instinct on a 95-mile-an-hour isn't to turn in. Your natural instinct is, oh, sheesh, get me out of here.
I don't even like the face thing. I get it. Nobody wants to get hit in the head or in the face.
I get that one.
But Andre Dawson getting hit in the face by Eric Schau, that is, to me, the defining moment for Andre Dawson, where I was like, this is the badass of badasses. He takes one in the puss. He gets up and wants Schau now. That was great.
If you want to see that, just look it up on YouTube. It was the best. He's down for 3 to 5, like it's long. Like a minute is long when it's just silence, right? He's down. There's a fight going on. He gets up. Rick Sutcliffe actually talked about it on Twitter. It's like a month ago. He gets up. Super Sports 70 showed it.
Yeah.
And Sutcliffe quote tweeted it and said, I told Dawson, yeah, Shaw's still out here if you want a piece of it. And you see Dawson get up, and you see Shaw, like,
he's gone.
Oh, he's gone.
No.
He's,
Adios.
But you're exactly right. Then now you got to step up there. It ain't Shaw. Okay, Sterling comes in the pitch. Next time Dawson's up, it ain't Shaw, but so what? It's still that ball. It's still a mound. It's still a pitcher. It's still throwing hard, and you got to stand in there.
And there was no pimping out a home run against a guy like Bob Gibson or Don Drysdale. There's no bat flip and, hey, look at me. Because you were going to eat one the next time you came to the plate.
You were. And that, to me, is the way, actually, that's the advantage pitchers have. Maybe now they have advantage. Like quarterback has, if you can't get to the quarterback, they're so good, they're so fast on the outside, somebody's going to be open.
Yeah, so they'll kill you.
That's why I always say, just look at the line. The line will tell you. If the line, somebody breaks through, you got a chance at an incompletion. If the quarterback, one thing I've really learned, and this is going to be so interesting for Anthony Richardson, and I think I told you years ago, or 5-7 years ago, Urban was like, hey man, don't watch the ball, just like basketball, watch the line. So I started watching the line, and the difference is stunning when a quarterback has to move his feet to the right or to the left to throw a football. The accuracy, still good. I mean, they're pros, for Christ's sake.
Right.
But the difference, like if a quarterback can set up these guys, I don't care if it's Gardner Minshew or Tom Brady, that ball is on target and on time.
They're the best of the best.
Best of the best.
These guys. Yeah. This is what they work at.
Speaking, do you like the signing of Muhammad, or is he another Chris Ballard bottom filler?
Oh, he's a
I liked him when he was here.
He was the last year he was here in 21. He had 7 sacks. He went with Eberflus, and I don't know what happened, but he wasn't the same guy. So he's coming back. He's another depth piece. If Lewis gets hurt again, there's Muhammad, and that's okay. But it is. I mean, it's another guy.
As soon as they signed him, I thought of you. I got so many people saying, the Kent Sterling, bottom of the barrel, Chris Ballard higher. There he is.
He's always grinding to take somebody graded like a 5 on a scale of 1 to 10 and getting a 5.2. Yeah. We're better today, boys. And that's just him. He's manipulative with the media. I think he does a good job of that in the building. At the end, as you evaluate him, look at the record.
That's it.
Who is he? He's 45, 51-1 or whatever it is. That's Chris Ballard. And he continues to talk about inside out and building from the line out. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked. It won't work. I don't understand how this guy, who is a smart guy, he's got a good job. He makes a lot of money. How does he not understand that that's not the way you put together a roster? I understand it. You understand it. Everybody understands it but him. And they keep putting up like seasons where you're like, well, they're not very good. Well, no, because they're built backwards.
They're not interesting either.
No.
Like, I don't give a damn whether you like Odell Beckham, you dislike Tyreek Hill, you like Kadarius Toney. I don't give a damn. But when they show up on your team, they're fast and they're interesting because they're fast.
Right.
Like slow. One thing also that I've learned watching, when I started in broadcast, really watching football, long drives aren't that common in the NFL.
No.
Because some idiot holds, or some idiot not clips, they don't clip anymore, but some idiot does something stupid, and it's almost like if I don't have a big play or big playability, man, you got no chance.
Right.
You got no chance.
None. 16-play drives don't happen every day, and they shouldn't.
No, not in the modern NFL. It's built, when they change the rules, like, people get on my ass because I was all over Reggie Wayne, but I'm like, hey, Reggie, how about coaching your team? 5 players, including 2 tight ends, scored more touchdowns than your entire wide receiver room last year, individually. That should never happen in the modern NFL.
No.
Particularly when you bring in a guy that at this time last year, and I'll never forget, again, I'm on Reggie Wayne for whatever the reason, but it's like, oh man, I almost threw up Matt Ryan reminded me so much of Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Like, come on, can we?
Let's stop with all of that crap immediately.
And if it continues, at least fans be smart enough to go, all right.
At least this year with Richardson, they're soft selling him.
Are they?
They're not saying, this guy, I'm telling you. There's none of that crap.
All right.
There's like, we're going to have to, we'll see where he is. Although he did say yesterday, Ballard said, which I I don't think he meant to say this. Every once in a while, there's kind of a peek behind the curtain. He said the decision whether he starts is going to be made by Ballard, Jim Irsay, and Shane Steichen, which means that decision is going to be made by Jim Irsay. Right? If he's in the room,
let's
he makes
paint a
the decision.
scenario.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
The fan, you're Steichen, you're Ballard, I'm Jim Irsay. Hey, fellas, thanks for coming on in the meeting. You know, we've been through camp. I've been out there a lot. What do y'all think?
Minshew really looks good to me. I think he gives us our best chance to win early in the season.
That's great. We're starting Anthony Richardson.
Okay, coach.
Yep. And you don't have a choice. Like you, Steichen, you're like, hey man, I'm just glad I got the damn gig. But I will say this: if I were Shane Steichen,
I'm sorry.
If I were Kent Sterling, I might die right here. I don't have paddles, nor am I doing.
I think this is what Ballard would do if he was in the room with Irsay.
I mean, once you throw the owner in, it takes Kevin Costner with the Cleveland Browns in draft day to not do it. You know, right. Shane McDougal or whatever the guy who didn't have any of his teammates come to his birth. Once Irsay's involved, it's over.
And he also said, this made me laugh, you know, hey, Sam Ehlinger looks good too. Oh. This is a guy who's competing for playing time. And so somebody on the comments yesterday with my channel said, I think he might have meant in preseason. Well, he didn't say that. He said, this is an open competition. It's kind of like these three guys, if they start Sam Ehlinger September 10th against Jacksonville, that crowd, they're going to go out to their cars, they're going to get torches, and they're going to come back into Lucas Oil Stadium, and they're going to want somebody's ass. Like that, what are you kidding? Like, stop saying this nonsense. I mean, that's patent nonsense. We're smart enough, we're not very bright, but we understand when nonsense is being proffered. Don't treat us like buffoons.
I mean, if you want to say Minshew, all right. Well, you want to say Minshew's competing. You know, I really think that, right. You know, okay. But we saw Sam Ehlinger.
We know what that is.
Yeah, we saw him.
It's not good.
No. And you know, they got that whole third quarterback rule now where you can bring a third quarterback on. Man, it's perfect. Good. Yay, rah.
And Minshew's a guy, they signed a 1-year, $3.5 million deal. Do you really think that the other 31 teams said, we don't want a starting level quarterback because we're going to let the Colts have that guy? What are you out of your minds?
You could have gone with $5 million and got the guy.
Right.
Take it out of penny. Hey, Jimmy, I need $5 million.
Yeah. Sell the Gilmore black guitar. We got to go get a quarterback.
But if they come with that again, I think, well, let me put it to you another way. I hope they do start Ehlinger. I hope that Sam Ehlinger becomes and, you know, and then you got Anthony Richardson sitting there.
Oh, that'd be gorgeous.
So, hey, look, remember when they used to line up Andrew Luck wide?
Yeah.
And that's stupidity. Okay, Andrew Luck's out wide. Oh, my God, you know, he's a really good athlete. He probably could make something happen. Shut up. Go line up Richardson wide. Get Sam under there going, hey, guys, hike. Shut up with that. Just, you know what? Just sign Richardson or just start Richardson and let's be done with it. Let's just be done with it.
And that's what they're going to do.
Of course
I mean, it's outrageous to suggest anything else. Because, again, like Irsay's been in football his whole life. He understands a lot about football. He understands especially fan discontent. He feels it. There would be nothing but discontent in that building on September 10th if Minshew comes in and starts and loses. You get beat 28-13 with Minshew as your starting quarterback. Where do you go from there? Then you've got to start Richardson. And if Richardson isn't ready, that's on Steichen, it's on Jim Bob Cooter, it's on Cam Turner, it's on the entire organization for doing a terrible job of evaluating Richardson, both as an athlete and as a competent quarterback. And you did a terrible job of negotiating your way through the preseason to get where you got. Everything's wrong. You did a poor job of coaching him up. Everybody's guilty if Minshew starts and fails. If Richardson starts and fails, he's a rookie. He started 13 games. It's all going to be okay. What's the downside of Richardson starting and losing September 10th. Not much.
No.
Minshew starting and losing, it's somebody's ass.
You know what? I don't disagree with that. In fact, if I were the Colts, the one thing, and I don't know how you do this, I honestly don't. You can do this in basketball in a few ways, but I guess you can in football. But I would be so focused on my defense. I would be so focused on making this defense good. Like, you know, and I don't know how you do it unless you got somebody that can rush the passer, which, you know, maybe Kwity Paye develops, or the Hurricane, or the new guys, or I don't know how you do it, and I don't know how you do it when you don't have corners. I mean, if you want to help Richardson, the number one thing you can do is get yourself a defense. It's not get yourself a running game, it's get yourself a defense. Get some guys out there that are going to limit the opponent to 18, 20 max, and then, you know, do something. But if you don't, and if you got a bad defense and you throw that kid out there, he ain't scoring 40 with the team that he's got.
No, and Gus Bradley's going to lose his job because there's hope invested in Shane Steichen, and equity is quickly being spent by Gus Bradley and was last year.
Yeah, and they've spent so much on it.
Yeah,
they've spent so much draft capital on defensive front. They bring in a guy like Gilmore and they get 1 year out of him. What? That's ludicrous to me. Even Aaron Rodgers at 39 years old said, "Hey, look, it's wrong for me just to give the Jets 1 year."
Yeah.
Colts bring in these guys and they're the best leaders, they're the best guys. Stephon Gilmore, okay, I'm gone. Like, again, don't bullshit us.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so maybe these guys are good. Maybe Brent's is good. Maybe, you know. All right, let me ask you another question. Was Isaiah Rodgers there? Is he cut? Is he what?
He's gone.
Oh, he is cut. Yeah, he got cut. That's right. I forgot about that.
He was, as soon as the suspension came down, he was a goner.
I forgot about it. That's absolutely right. He was, and good. I mean, if you're there, you know, I hope he keeps himself in shape. I hope if he lives around here, works out, and, you know, do you think, let me go, because I know we don't have a lot of time, but the NFL just suspended another guy for a year.
Yeah.
For gambling on football. Do you think, for gambling on the NFL, do you think, what?
What's the matter with people?
I don't know.
What are they doing?
Oh, fuck. Do you think that those guys will be back in a year for gambling on football, gambling on the NFL, as opposed to what Calvin Ridley is alleged to have done?
The only guy that I know of, like from a talent perspective, is Isaiah Rodgers, and he's a good enough player to play cornerback in the NFL. I think if he puts it behind him...
No. Will the NFL allow him back in a year?
Oh, yeah.
It's an indefinite suspension.
So. Right.
Why does
he goes to like some kind of counseling? Well, Pete Rose, he went forever not admitting that he bet on baseball and that he only did when it benefited him financially. Pete Rose, look, and he is a great interview. He is a wonderful interview. He is a straight asshole. He is a crazy person, and you don't invite crazy to your party.
Yeah, but
Pete Rose, his arrogance and his indifference to everybody around him is so enormous that I don't think you can trust him ever.
So do you think that Pete Rose would have gotten back in had he admitted it?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think if he's contrite and he goes to some kind of counseling, and now Giamatti died in the middle of all of this, and that wasn't good for him. But I think that if he does that and shows that he understands the error of his ways, then there's an opening for him to come back.
Okay, Alex Karras and Paul Hornung were suspended way back,
for a year.
And they got back in.
Yeah.
That's why people, you know, I'm on the fence with it. I'm like, hey, look, if they find out that some player, let's just use Isaiah Rodgers, you know, bet on a certain game to lose, and they went back and watched the tape and he's dropping an interception, that's a different deal.
And, you know, Alex Karras, during that whole thing, and that predates both of us, but I read about it, he was furious that it wasn't allowed for players to gamble on football. He thought this is the stupidest rule in the history of rules, that we can't gamble on the NFL. That's crazy.
He was mad that you couldn't gamble on your own team.
Yes.
What I read.
Yes.
Yeah, because he said, look, we're not making shit, and we know what, you know, better than anybody. We're going to win the game, and I'm going to play harder.
Right.
I read that way back, 100 years ago. Now, Hornung was a Pete Rose type degenerate.
Hornung, that's what he did. Every time I went to a horse track in Louisville, there's Paul Hornung. First time, like I'm 15 years old, we just moved down there. We're at Louisville Downs, and I'm with my dad, and I'm like, that's Paul Hornung. And he's standing there with like a glass of bourbon and some tickets in his hands, and he had that kind of paunch thing working. I was like, that's the coolest human being. Did you ever talk to Paul Hornung?
Uh-huh.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The most personable man ever.
Always smiling.
Why not?
He was always at Ted Bishop's outing down in Linton, Indiana, the Phil Harris Golf
Oh,
Class.
really?
Ernie Banks every year, Paul Hornung every year, Neil Armstrong every year, Bob Knight every year. It was awesome. I remember going to Phil's house and not Phil's house, Ted Bishop's house for a big party, and there's Paul Hornung just sitting there, same thing. I assume it's bourbon. I didn't think it was iced tea. Belly out to here, calling everybody babe or something. I forget, he called people a name, I think it was, like babe or, hey honey, how you doing? Something like, all right, oh, okay, yeah, all right.
That's Brickhouse called everybody kid.
Kid.
Brickhouse.
Yeah.
Hey kid, how you doing?
That's what I call Benetti, and it makes him nuts. Hey, thanks, kid. That's good stuff. Kid, why do you call me kid? You're a kid. What do you want me to do? I don't know. Look, I don't care who anybody else in this town. Somebody just said that James Boyd and JMV want Ellinger to start, or the people that watch their show. That was good. We want him to start. Let's start a campaign. Chad Ellinger, because we want
perfect.
Chad Kelly who's tearing it up. Hey,
he's gone wild in the CFL.
I was just going to apologize to everybody that used to listen to my show, and I made fun of you about Chad Kelly. Free Chad Kelly. Free that man. All right, last thing before we go. I'm all over Harbaugh. I'm killing Harbaugh. I'm crushing souls here. Because I realized yesterday, like, damn, Jim Tressel got fired for tattoos. Harbaugh cheats.
Yeah.
He lies to the investigator. Like, I think there needs to be, like in everything, whether it's the court of law, whether it's cops, the FBI, whether it's whatever investigations of your particular, like your company catches you doing something, and you got to talk to the investigator.
Yeah.
It should be a steadfast rule. If we catch you in a lie, you're done.
Yeah, right.
You have to. Like, and Harbaugh is just, he's in a position somehow. Harbaugh cheated, lied, hired a guy that he had to fire as a defensive coordinator, was a cyber criminal, hired Shemi Schembechler, came back as being a racist, played a guy that was on a felony charge with a gun, tried to get away with it, and he's 2-5 against Michigan. If he were 0-7, if Urban were still there, Harbaugh would be done, and he's 1-6 in bowl games, and this guy's treated like Hunter Biden, like whatever you want to do. Like, Jesus, come on.
The only thing I don't understand with Jim Harbaugh is why he's negotiating his way into this suspension, where he could just tell the NCAA to get bent
and see what happens.
And what's the NCAA going to do about it?
That is interesting. That is so interesting. That is that when you talk to coaches, there is a feeling that the NCAA is so inconsequential.
Yeah.
That they have no power over us.
Like Bruce Pearl. There his ass is. He keeps getting promoted to better jobs. The more he cheats, the better his life is. That's craziness.
That's crazy.
So if I'm Harbaugh, I'm telling you, come, bring your lawyers. I got my lawyer.
Yeah.
Let's figure this out. And the NCAA's good. Oh, gee, look at the time. You know
what would even be better? All right, okay, I'll take your suspension. That's good. Like Bill Clinton after he got impeached, or Donald Trump after he got impeached. Oh, okay, I'm impeached. Yeah, okay. All right, good. Okay. What are we doing on Iran? What do we like? Don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like show up like Costanza. Like hey, you guys suspended
there
me?
anyway.
Yeah. First game's against Bowling Green areas on the sideline.
Yeah. What are you going to handcuff me and leave me off the field?
You got a perp walk coming.
Yeah.
Right. Seriously, I don't know. I just.
I got in trouble as a high school kid, and my dad talked to my counselor about it because they became friends through my idiocy. And Dad said, "What mistake did Kent make?" And the counselor said he admitted it. He should never have admitted it. They didn't have anything. If he hadn't come clean, they would not have known what to do. I always remembered that. And I think Harbaugh failed to learn that as a high schooler or a guy at Michigan or a Bears quarterback or whatever. Just don't admit it. No, I didn't.
I think that's what he did. And then they had all these documents.
Keep coming with it. Once you say you didn't do it, once you failed to admit it, you got to stick to it.
Oh, yeah. You can't back off.
Pull the truth out of your pocket later? No.
Hey, I'm suspended. Yeah, what time's practice? I'll be at practice. What time? Yeah, we got it. We're good. Yeah, I know I'm suspended. I know I got you.
What would they do?
I don't know.
Would they tell Michigan they had to fold their football program? I don't think they would do that. Michigan could no. We're not suspending him. He can come to work. If Michigan dug their feet in and told the NCAA to get bent, well, the NCAA would have no choice but to surrender.
I'm trying. As you're saying that, I knew where you were going to end up, and I was trying to think my retort. I don't know.
Double down, never walk out of the casino a loser.
Right, keep doubling.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my theory in golf. You may beat me, but you ain't going to outpress me. I'll keep going. But to your point, the AD at Michigan is a guy that I really like, Ward Manuel. I was doing a game and it was freezing. It was like a couple years ago when we had that polar vortex or whatever. It was like minus 23. Michigan canceled school, and I said, I don't know. Students are going to have a great time. They're all headed to keep. I knew 3 bars. My son had told me 3 bars. Scorekeepers was one. So, and I said all 3. I go, they're just going to go to keep or skeeps and they're here and there. They're going to have a great night. The head of the health department at the University of Michigan wrote a scathing letter to ESPN and to the athletic department about how I put kids' lives in jeopardy by making fun of or not taking serious enough. So I didn't even know about it, and the athletic director, Ward Manuel, sent him a letter back saying, "You're an idiot." Basically, what are you talking about? He knows the bars. His son goes to school here, went to school here. He's making light of a situation for kids. And get away from me.
Good for Ward.
It was really
good.
That's
Fantastic.
And I had a chance to thank him last year at the IU Michigan game because you know how this goes. People can always make a bigger deal of little stuff.
Right.
Mountains into molehill or molehills into mountain. And him just saying, no, screw you. So I could see Ward Manuel, if he really felt strongly enough, saying, yeah, okay, well, we're not suspending him.
Right.
Well, the Big Ten's going to suspend you. Good. Okay. Well.
Now what do we do?
I don't know.
Where are we? Right.
Oh, what? Then the Big Ten, I would assume, would say, we're going to take away your money.
Here's my chips. Where are your chips?
But
what are you willing to sacrifice to
there's
come and
got to be language in there where the Big Ten can punish a school for not adhering to administrative decisions relative
go right
to
ahead
personnel.
and try to punish Michigan.
I'm just saying, here's you got $20 million coming, we're withholding it.
This isn't Nebraska. This is Michigan.
What's
This isn't a Johnny-come-lately. They got to earn their stripes in the conference. This is a founding member of the conference.
I don't think you're wrong. I'm just making up scenarios.
And I'm completely not that guy. I would absolutely admit everything that I ever did, and I'd feel terrible that I broke a rule, and I'd say, yes, I did, and I'd take my whacks while these other clowns laugh at me because they refuse to, and that'd drive me nuts. But
it's like Sean Payton. He just called John Gruden a dumb mother blanket because he paid his $100,000 fine to the NFL for pulling his mask down during COVID. And Peyton's like, I didn't pay that. What are you stupid? Are you out of your freaking mind? I'm not paying that shit. Gruden, you're a dumb. So, yeah, there's some words I won't say on here. All right, maybe our greatest show ever. Look at Kent Sterling.
Best.
You got to subscribe.
It's unbelievable. Subscribe to this, and want to remind you, if you haven't already, subscribe here to Big Brains, subscribe at Kent Sterling, and DM me somehow, some way. Twitter or X, whatever, Facebook, IG, and you are entered to win an Anthony Richardson, what do they call them? The Indiana Knights jersey. As soon as they ship, I'm going to get the first one, and I'm going to give it away immediately. So subscribe to this. Make sure and like this video too, because it's just the polite thing to do.
And if you subscribe, you got to subscribe to both. So you got to get to KentSterling.com too, because Kent Sterling educates every morning.
And afternoon. And Anthony Richardson's media availability, that's up already. And we'll, Shaq Leonard's, and we'll put Shane Steichen's up later today.
There you go. Thanks for being with us.
You're the greatest. And this was the greatest show we've ever had.
I think it was.